So Richard Avedon is a fashion photographer. He became really popular kind of in the 60s. He did a lot of shooting for people like Harper's Bazaar, Vogue magazine, kind of really high-end stuff. During the 90s, he was mostly shooting a huge campaign for Calvin Klein, and he really kind of brought about this change in what our idea was of the like supermodel, and you know, choosing people that had a little bit more of a unique look, not just like the tall blonde. Not that they, you know, the tall blondes ended up being supermodels like, you know, Claudia Schiffer or somebody. But it really kind of changed the face of kind of the everyday person. And part of that came about through this body of work that he did, which was Into the American West. And so the pictures you're going to look at kind of side by side, you can kind of scroll through those while we're talking, since I'm not looking at them directly. But I just want to talk about the body of work kind of more generally, because the questions that you're going to answer are going to reference them quite a bit in this big exhibit as we start to look at you know, how critics kind of saw the work and what they thought about it. And so I want you to have a little bit of background. So anyway, what he would do is, in some of his off time, in between when he was doing his fashion shoots, when he had time off, he had like an RV that he would take, and he would go out and he would travel. And as he was out in the world, he would find interesting people, and he might see somebody walking down the street really quick and just stop and ask them, hey, can I take your portrait? And he would create his studio right there. So you'll see some of the like behind the scenes shots. You can see he's got like this white seamless, just like what we have in the back of the classroom, but he would just like tape it up on the side of a wall or on the side of his RV, or, you know, at the side of a factory or on the back of a barn or wherever it needed to be. And he would set it up in an area where there was open shade, so really soft, even light. And then what he was shooting with was this huge 8x10 camera. So if you see some of the pictures of him standing next to it, that's the camera. It's an 8x10, which has so much detail, it's so much resolution. It's like shooting with like a 60 megapixel camera or something. It has so much resolution. And he would basically just define the frame. You knew what would be inside the picture based on where the camera was, and then he would just stand next to the camera and direct the model, you know, and talk to them and then capture those moments. And he has assistants, so you see there's people on boxes and doing stuff, and they're loading the film and they're switching it out, and he's able to just kind of engage with the model and shoot. And so with that body of work, the way that it was exhibited, if you see there's some like pictures of the exhibits, then because there was so much resolution, he kind of takes these pictures of everyday people, but then prints them larger than life. They're just huge, like almost billboard-sized prints, you know, in these galleries in New York. And it really kind of had this interesting play between, you know, the people, the reality of them, and then also just like, you know, the clean white background. So it really just isolated them, and the simplicity, so that we just really could focus on who they were. And then he took that work and brought it into kind of his fashion work as well. So kind of explore those pictures really quick. Keep that in the back of your mind, so when you do some of the reading, you'll have some idea who this Richard Avedon person is that they keep talking about. All right, I hope you enjoy the pictures.